Good morning. This is our first full day in Amsterdam. Last night, I know the last thing that we showed you was eating lunch, but it was actually late afternoon when we were eating lunch. And then we just crashed and went to bed early because we were running on about 30 hours with no sleep. So went to bed early, slept all night, and feel great this morning. And the sun's out. So today we're going into the city center, and I just started walking, and TJ was like, "Do you know where we're going?" And I was like, "No." So he's getting directions. It's gonna be a good day.
We were told to get our tickets inside the train station, but we have to have a ticket to get in the train station. So that's what we're trying to figure out right now.
One way, day return. Other. We want day return, right?
Yep.
Amsterdam Central. I think that's what we want.
Okay.
That one, okay. That was so fast. There's a Dunkin' Donuts. This is getting so interesting this morning. We got to, what is this, like the city center on the train, but we cannot find the currency exchange place, and it's on the map, but we can't figure out where it is. It says it's in the station. We can't find it, and then the security guy who's helping us told us to go to these little stands that were right at top and gray at the bottom, but those were train and bus tickets. They weren't currency exchange, so it's an adventure.
I think it's on the other side. Yeah, it's a $9 fee. I entered the incorrect PIN. Hello. Need to exchange. That was expensive.
We exchanged some money, so we have some cash, which is great because we are going on a walking tour. We got 5 minutes to the stock exchange, which is where we're meeting. We didn't really record it because we didn't want to be rude. Obviously, if you come here, you should go on a walking tour, and we want you to patronize their business because that's how they make money, and it was fantastic. They'll always tell the story better than us, of course, but we want to give you a few of the highlights. So back in the time of Luther, when Protestantism was spreading across Europe, the Netherlands banned Catholicism. However, since Amsterdam was a trade city, they did not want to lose any business, so they decided that Catholicism could be practiced, but it had to be in secret, and you could not try to convert anybody to Catholicism. So somebody opened what they called a secret church in one of the houses behind us, and it is still on the inside set up as a church today.
That one right there.
We didn't get to go inside to see it, but we saw pictures of it, and it was beautiful.
So one of the cool things that we learned on the tour is that the area that we're in is also referred to as Holland, which stands for hollow land, because they actually had to come in and pump water out of it to create land because there wasn't land here before. It was all underwater. And most of this part of the Netherlands is actually several meters below sea level. Because of that, the guide on the tour told us that most of the buildings here are all sinking, but they're sinking all together evenly. But if you look around, you can tell that some of the buildings are sinking faster than the others because they're leaning.
So Amsterdam is known as a city of tolerance, and you heard me talk about the Catholicism earlier and how they banned it, but not totally. They just made it to where they tolerated it, pretty much. So they've done that with a whole lot of things, including cannabis. Behind me, you will see a place called a coffee shop, but it's not actually a coffee shop, which, well, it's not actually, I thought I might need to move. It's not actually what you would think of when you hear the word coffee shop. That is just a way of saying it's a cannabis store, but there's certain regulations. Again, you can't just be like out promoting cannabis, and you can't sell on the street and that sort of thing. So they've opened coffee shops to sort of disguise it. And from where we're standing right now, I can see 3 coffee shops. But if you come to Amsterdam and you actually want coffee, just look for a cafe and you'll actually get coffee.
So in short, cafe is coffee, coffee is cannabis.
And any stereotype you hear about bikes in Amsterdam is absolutely true.
So we learned that during World War II, when Nazi Germany came over and invaded the Netherlands, they asked where all of the Jews were and took all of the Jews out. All of these homes were vacant. Later on, people started to starve and freeze to death. And so they cut down all the trees to burn for firewood. And when they ran out of trees, they turned to these vacant homes and took all of the wood furnishings out of there to build a fire. So during the restoration, they gutted those buildings, and in the 1970s, they built these buildings in their place for people to live.
One of the spots they brought us to that we found very unique was this spot where you can see these leaning houses. Now, some of them are leaning, like we talked about earlier, because the foundation's sinking, but there's also a bit of an optical illusion going on because you're charged when you buy land to build a house, or when you buy the house, you're charged for the square footage of the base of the house. So some people build the base and then they build the house going up and out a little bit. So it looks like it's leaning forward, but really they're just adding extra square footage that they technically got for free. Behind us is the Royal Palace, and we learned that the Netherlands is the only country that has gone from a monarchy to a republic and then back to a monarchy. And the Dutch people right now didn't really love the current king, but then he married a lady that they really, really love. So everything's great now.
So one of the places that we passed through back there, but we didn't film, is the red light district, which is where all of the prostitution happens. And prostitution isn't illegal because they're just normal working people paying taxes on their money just like anybody else.
It's one of those other things that they tolerated, that they basically didn't outlaw, they sort of made it legal, but they limited it a lot. I don't really know what's happening right now, but there's a bus with a police escort pulling up in front of the palace. I don't know what happened. It looks cool. Tour was awesome. Highly recommend to do a walking tour when you're here, and we can link the one that we did below in the description. But I did want to say that as an American, I only speak one language. I'm sure that's not a surprise to anybody, but you always hear that like in Europe and other places, they typically speak more than one language, and I've just never experienced that until now. Everybody on our tour was from different countries, and in between stops they would talk to each other in their native language, and then the tour was in English. And of course TJ and I don't have another language to talk to each other in, and I didn't necessarily feel out of place, but I did feel really dumb. So that's just a new experience for me, but it's also a really, really cool thing at the same time.
So we're running out of daylight, so we're gonna head back to the Air BnB.
On our way back to the Air BnB, we stopped for dinner and dessert, which was amazing, but we didn't film much. Don't worry though, we'll be talking plenty about the food of the Netherlands on our food tour coming up. We'll see you then.